Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to another Future Fight Vanguard video. It has been a while since I've uploaded a video, guys. I honestly didn't account for the type of balance that it would take to have to balance between work life and having a regular YouTube uploading life. But it's kind of hard to hold the balance. But honestly, it's just that and a lot of procrastination at the same time. Because a lot of times I'll get home and I'll just be so tired, and I'll be like, you know what, I'll make a video tomorrow. And then that tomorrow turns into the next tomorrow, and so on and so forth. And then finally, I just realized that I just finally have to do it. No matter how tired I am, if I want to get videos out, I just have to do it, even if I'm tired. I can't really worry about oh, I'm too tired, people are gonna hate this video because they're too, I'm too tired. I can't just really worry about that anymore if I want to provide you guys content. So, excuse me, guys. I did want to thank you guys who have stayed around for being loyal, even though I really haven't put out any new videos. As you guys know, we are heading into the standard format of Vanguard. Obviously, Premium will still be around, but I personally believe that will be the less prominent format. So we are heading into Standard. They're getting a bunch of new Standard reveals for the Q4 set, and we're preparing for this big meta shift in the game. So, we want to catch up to that point where I will be prepared to give you guys some, fresh content once that rolls around. So we're still going to be doing our future fights because I have still been getting asked by some people just to do all the different decks that I haven't covered yet, especially running up to the Bermuda decks that are current. So today we're going to be talking about the Musketeer deck from G-EB02, which is the Zoo Booster set. Not much to say about that. We can get right into the list here as usual. This build is actually very simplistic, or this deck, in my opinion, is very simplistic. You just kind of make big numbers and whack your opponent and hope that they don't have guard and hope that you check triggers at the same time. So let's talk about our grade 3s. So we have 4 Lantana Musketeer Rosita. Rosita came out of this new Zoo Booster set. It is the new main grade 3 that you want to go into for the Musketeer deck. It has 2 abilities. The first one is an auto Vanguard ability that is a stride skill, which is kind of interesting, just small note, unrelated, but they, Bushiroad started printing the stride skills on the top of the cards instead of the second part of the card, which I really dislike personally, but some people just don't care. I preferred it when they had their Generation Break 1 or their Generation Break 2 effect on the top, and then their stride skill on the bottom, because it makes it easier for you to slide up the stride when you're playing in person and kind of look at the stride skill rather than it being at the top of the card. It's kind of just awkward. But yeah, so the stride skill is when your G unit with Musketeer in its original card name strides, look at 4 cards from the top of your deck, call 1 Musketeer card to rear guard circle, and then shuffle your deck. So you get a free card off of it. This stride skill is literally free, +1 to the field. There's no minuses to it. There's no drop the rest in your drop zone like Miarita. So overall, it's just a very good effect. The second ability is a continuous Vanguard Generation Break 1 skill that says you can counterboss 1 and choose 2 normal units with Musketeer in its name from your drop zone. Put them on the bottom of your deck in any order as the cost for free striding a Musketeer stride. So it's basically like the Luard of Neonectar almost, where except for having all the other broken stuff like the crit that draws you a card or the PD that bounces to hand, but they do get a free strider for that, for putting units back to their deck. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty decent. Then as our backup grade 3, we only have 2. We have White Clover Musketeer Miarita. Miarita has 2 abilities as well. They are both Vanguard abilities. The first one is a Generation Break 1 skill that says at the end of your turn, choose up to 2 normal units with Musketeer in its card name from your drop zone, and you can put them on the bottom of your deck. This allows you to do a little recycling at the end of your turn. Also allows you to recycle, some of the stuff that you might have lost from the stride skill of this specific card while you're on it. So the second ability, the stride skill that I just discussed, is during your turn when your G unit with Musketeer in its name strides, choose one of your Vanguards and it gets a skill until the end of the turn, which is an axe skill that says counterblast 1, choose one of your rearguards with Musketeer in its name, retire it, and then you look at the top 4 cards of your deck and you can get up to 2 cards from those 4, and then you put the rest into your drop zone. So unlike the rest of the Musketeer effects, where you look at the top 4, you get 1, the rest shuffle in. You look at top 4 with this, you can get up to 2, but in exchange for that, you have to put the rest in the drop zone. So if you see like a bunch of triggers, you just lose all those triggers all at once, which really sucks. So another reason to ride into Rosita. For our grade 2s, we run 13 grade 2s, which is more than any average deck will run, but this is a rush deck. You do want to rush your opponent and have like good early game strives against them, so that you can try to push for game by the time you're ready to stride. So what Favela does is it has an auto rearguard ability that is once per turn when your generation break 1, and it says when your other unit with Musketeer in its card name is placed on rearguard circle, choose one of your rearguards with Musketeer in its name other than this unit, and until the end of the turn, this unit and that unit gets 6,000 power and resist. So this also helps you get around your really bad matchups like Kagero, Narukami, sometimes Link Joker, depending on how you use Favela skill, or if you have multiple Favelas on the field. But it does a really good job at pumping your Tessas, while also protecting your Tessas as well. So next card we're going to talk about is Tessa herself. This card is honestly the singular most important card in the grade 2 lineup, in my opinion. It has a Vanguard rearguard skill that says when your other unit with Musketeer in its card name is placed on a rearguard circle, if you have 3 or more other units with Musketeer in its name, this unit gets plus 2,000 power. Then if you have a face-up card with Musketeer in your G zone, then the unit that was placed gets plus 4,000 power. So it pumps itself and it pumps other things for you calling. And obviously you just do like a lot of recycling and calling in this deck because it is a Neo Nectar deck. So Tessa fits very well with that theme. Then we have for Sylvia, Pansy Musketeer Sylvia. Sylvia's skill is when this unit is placed on Vanguard or rearguard circle, you can reveal the top, or you forcefully reveal the top card of your deck. And then if it is a Musketeer card, you have to call it to a rearguard circle. And if it is not, you shuffle your deck. So you never have to worry about it not being a Musketeer card because we do run all Musketeer cards in a Musketeer deck. However, it does kind of suck when you flip over the top card and is a crit trigger like Alan or a heal trigger like Nikura. These two can be put back into the deck, so it's not much of a big deal when you call them, but calling these two is a lot more hurtful. Then we have one Kaivant to round out our grade 2 lineup, our 13th grade 2, and it's basically just a grade 2 Rebecca, which says when this unit is placed on Vanguard or rearguard circle, you can counterboss 1, choose a rearguard with Musketeer in its name and retire it. Then you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, and then you get 1 Musketeer card and you shuffle your deck after calling it to rearguard. So pretty good. Then we run 4 Daphne. This is our stride fodder for the deck. It can act as a stride fodder when you're discarding it, but also when you do discard it to stride, you can counterboss 1, and then you can look at the top 4 cards of your deck, call a Musketeer, and then shuffle your deck. So obviously this goes with the theme of calling, from top 4, thinning your deck out to hit those triggers, etc., etc. Then we run the Musketeer PG, Kiara. So it has 3 abilities. First one is Sentinel, cannot run more than 4 Sentinels in the deck. You guys know that. Second ability is when it's placed on the guard circle, you can block one of your units with Musketeer in its name by discarding a card from your hand. So that's the PG skill. It only protects Musketeers. Be aware of that in case you're trying to randomly use it in other decks. And then the third skill activates in the drop zone. Whenever you want during your main phase, you combine this card, and then you choose another card in your drop zone, put it to the bottom of your deck. Then you choose one of your units with Musketeer in its name, and it gets plus 2,000 power. So the 2,000 power part kind of sucks, but it does allow you to put back triggers that you would not normally be able to put back from your drop zone. Then we have 4 Lily of the Valley Musketeer Rebecca. Rebecca is literally a Kaivant, just like I said before, which is when it's placed on Vanguard or rearguard circle. If you have a Neo Nectar Vanguard, you can counterboss 1, choose a Musketeer, and retire it. Then you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, get a Musketeer, call it your rearguard circle, and shuffle your deck. So pretty self-explanatory. Another top 4 call card. Then we have 2 Black Rose Musketeer Vierni, or Verni. Don't kill me on the pronunciation, guys. It's super late. It's like 3:30 in the morning. But yeah, the rearguard skill is Generation Break 1, continuous. If you have a Vanguard with Musketeer in its name, this unit gets plus 1000 power for each of your other units with Musketeer in its name. So if you have a full board, this card gets plus 5. Not bad at all. It really does help you change your number in all aspects. A plus 5 is always a good thing, not a bad thing in this game, in my opinion. As our starter, we run Baby Blue Eyes Musketeer Malin. Malin has 2 abilities. The first one is Forerunner, meaning that you can move it back to another rearguard circle when it's ridden upon, like most starters in the game. The second ability is an axe skill that can be activated during your main phase. That says Counterblast 1 Musketeer card, which is a special counterblast. And then you put this card into your soul, and then you look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You can search for 1 card with Musketeer in its name, call it, and then if you called a unit with the same name as the unit you already have out, then the unit that you just called gets plus 3000 power. So second part's kind of irrelevant, but I do use this card a lot to get my rush started off on grade 2. Helps you get your opponent to like some high damage numbers, so that when you start striding, your opponent really has to feel the pressure. So for our triggers, we run 8 crit, 4 stand, 4 heal. We run 4 Gardenium Musketeer Allen, 4 Raquel, 4 Ernest, and 4 Nikura. What Allen does is our first crit trigger, obviously a Musketeer crit trigger. It says when your unit is placed on rearguard due to the effect of one of your Musketeer cards, you can countercharge 2. So you do have a lot of effects in this deck that counterblast. So you definitely do want to call Allen from time to time to get some countercharging happening. Yeah, and that's all I have to say about that. Raquel is a really good card as well, because on rearguard circle, guard circle, or drop zone is regarded as a normal unit instead of a trigger unit. So what that means is that you can, with skills that say put back normal units from your drop zone, you can actually put the crits back, so that's pretty cool. Then we have 4 Blue Rose Musketeer Ernest. I honestly only ran this to run the stand triggers, but its effect is really good when you're like pumping on mirror turns and stuff like that, like your stride mirror turns. And then its effect is Counterblast 1 and put it on the bottom of your deck. Look at the top 4 cards, get a Musketeer, shuffle your deck. You guys know the drill. Then we have 4 Musketeer heal Nikura. Nikura is basically our G-Guard, our new G-Guarding heal, which is when we discard it to go into our G-Guard, then if we have another one in our drop zone, we can bind both of the heals and we can choose the counter charge one or soul charge one. So very useful card. Going right into our G zone, we have 1 Zeroth Dragon of Death Guard and Zoa. This is our Death Touch Zeroth Dragon. It is our Zeroth Dragon for Zoo. So obviously all the Zoo decks that I cover will have one for like kind of like a backup safety guarantee. But you kind of never really get the chance to use it, especially not in this deck, because this deck is very early game based. So you won't be trying to kill your opponent super early with Zoa. Like, that's not what kind of deck this is. Also, kind of sometimes in the early game, you don't have a way to gauge if they have a PG or not. And Zoa falls really silent when you don't have a PG. Like, everything goes really crappy. But its skill is when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, you can counterblast 2. If you do, you draw a card, and then you choose a card from your hand, call it to Rearguard Circle, and then it gets 2 effects. The first effect is it cannot be chosen by card effects, and the second effect is that the power will always be 99,999. So basically, that's just a lot of power. It stays stagnant at that number no matter if you hit triggers or not, and what you check or not. And it also cannot be affected by card effects, and that also includes trigger effects. So you cannot add a crit to it, you cannot stand it, stand the unit with Death Touch, etc. And also gives it the Death Touch skill, which is when this unit hits or does deal damage to your opponent's Vanguard, then your opponent loses the game. So pretty strong effect, kind of just like a pocket choice to keep around in case we ever just need to Zoa and it's our only chance to win. Then we run 4 Lily of Princess Small Spirit Flower Musketeer Mira. That is a freaking mouthful. It has a Generation Break 2 act ability that says Soul Blast 1. Choose a card with Musketeer from its name from your G zone, turn it face up. If you have a heart card with Musketeer in its name, until the end of the turn, this unit gets an ability. that says when your unit with Musketeer and its card name is placed on rearguard circle, the unit that was placed gets 2,000 for each one of your rearguards with Musketeer in its name. So let's say that you have one open rearguard circle, 4 rearguards. If you play the 5th rearguard and you have already used Mirror Skill this turn, that unit will get plus 10k. So it can make your numbers really, really big, really fast, and really stack what's going on. Then we have 4 Maiden White Lily Musketeer Captain Virginal Cecilia. Virginal Cecilia is a great starter stride to go off of in this deck. It is also a good finisher in the case that you can't mirror, because mirror doesn't really synergize well unless you have cards to, you know, top 4 to get a card. If you don't, then it's kind of bad synergy, and then you could just go into a second Virginal Cecilia after the first one. But the skill is act, counterboss 1, and choose a face down card from your G-Zone with the same name as this unit, turn it face up. Choose up to 5 of your rearguards and retire them. Then you look at top 7 cards from your deck, call up to the same number of Musketeer cards than you retired, and then they get plus 3,000 power until the end of the turn for each face-up card with Musketeer in its name in your G-Zone. So, pretty swole effect. Obviously, it gets better the later you use it in the game, and the later, the more Musketeers you have face-up. Like I said, the game won't last that long when you're playing this deck. It's either kill or be killed, but it is useful for what it does. We do run 1 Primavera for the chance that, you know, we have a lot of counterboss on flip, and then we can just go push our opponent for game. Like, this is kind of like a thing where if we've done the game, been playing the grade 2 game for a long time, and we get first stride and they're 5 damage, we kind of want to go into Primavera just because, you know, we know that we can probably kill them if we've been playing the grade 2 game for that long, because Musketeers play the grade 2 game kind of, they're up there with all the top decks that can play the grade 2 game. So as far as early game goes, they are definitely high tier, and there's not many decks that can fight them in a fair grade 2 game and come out on top. So we definitely run Primavera for that, and you can just, you know, Primavera them when you're ready to stride, and that should handle things quite nicely. Primavera's skill, I forgot to go over it, is Counterboss 3, and choose 5 normal units from your drop zone, put them on the top of your deck in any order, and then choose a card from your hand and discard it. And that's all when the Vanguard attacks, you can pay that. And then you choose up to 2 of your rearguards, and then you can call from your deck up to 2 of the rearguards with the same name as those units, shuffle your deck. So what that means is that you can choose 2 units, and you can choose to call 2 of each of that unit. So it will allow you to call out 4 in total and call out column, which is pretty good. Sabreeze for people try to grade lock you. You guys know what that is already. And stepping right into our G zone, we have Koshalania, which is one of our G Guardians. It's our G Flip Guardian from the older Fighters collection. It says when this unit is placed on guard circle, counterboss 1, flip a card in your G zone face up. If you do until the end of the battle, this unit gets plus 5,000 shield. And then if you choose a card from your hand, call it to rearguard, and the number of units that you have is 2 or more, then it gets plus 10. So it can become a 41k shield by itself. Pretty solid, but obviously only use with caution, because most of the time you can just Antero and get the job done. Speaking of Antero, its skill is when this unit is placed on guard circle, you can Soul Blast 1. If you do until the end of the battle, this unit gets plus 5,000 shield, and then if you have 1 or less rearguards or 4 or more, this unit gets 15k shield. So overall 20k shield, 46k guard, very useful. Then we run 1 Brain Breath, which literally gives you 5k shield for placing anything from your hand when you guard with it. So pretty good. A pretty good combo to do with Rain Breath is to play grade 2 and then just intercept with that same grade 2 that you were depending on or that you were going to block with anyways. That way it just makes it easier, and it gives you a free 5k shield to block your opponent's assaults. Going into our games for the Musketeer archetype, we're loading back up our Cardfight area here. Alright, there we go. So Musketeer is 1. So game 1 we're playing against Gold Paladin, seems to be Gurgwit, mixed with the Militant Axe Dragon as the backup. Our opponent rides, passes turn to us, we ride, we attack, we don't check a trigger. Our opponent checks the damage trigger and goes for turn. They ride and they call the stride fighter to rear guard so that they can search Gurgwit and kind of thin out their deck at the same time. We do check a heal trigger, but it does not go off, and our opponent crits us on the Vanguard check, making us take 2 damage, or 2 more damage, I should say. We use Mei Lin to get a card off of it, and then we play a card from our hand. We use Rebecca's skill to call a card. We end up getting a Tessa, which is really good. You want to get your Tessa combos set up correctly and right in the right way. So then we attack, and I was really happy about being able to put my opponent to 4. Unfortunately, he healed, so you know that was not a thing. But then he chooses to attack both of our rear guards and gets another heal, which is kind of ridiculous. But we end up striding into Virginal Cecilia, top 4, call a Tessa. And then I was thinking right here, but I end up playing the PG just so that I could have more targets for Virginal Cecilia. So Virginal Cecilia kills 2, I look at top 7 and I call 2. So I decided to call Elaine and the grade 2. So not only does it get 3k from Virginal Cecilia, but you know, Favela goes off at the same time, and Tessa goes off at the same time, so everything's just like a really big plus. So then we call Sylvia. Sylvia calls the top card of the deck, which is a crit, and then we use the PG skill in our drop zone to put a card back to our bottom and give a unit plus 2k. So we attack for 22. He goes ahead and G guards. I didn't even know that he had solid defensive strats left in his deck. But we do check a crit trigger and a heal, or sorry, a crit and a stand trigger. So we attack him for 27, and then we attack him for 43, which proves to be way too much for him, and he just loses the game instantly. And that's kind of what I'm talking about like be kill or be killed, just because Musketeers is like that. Like they have never been a survival smash my opponent up, I will live longer than them deck. They've always been a, well, I really want to kill them, can I, type of deck. So game 2, we're actually going to do it from the view of the Gold Paladin player, even though it's a different game, because I actually didn't record this one, my friend did, so he just sent me the recording, but in exchange it is from the Gold Paladin's point of view. So I will still be covering my plays as I do them on the other side. So I call double Sylvia here, calling cards to the board. I use Mei Lin to call a card to the board. We switch the cards, and my friend takes the damage, heals, puts up, you know, damage, and then double heals when we crit him. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, so lucky. But our opponent rides and then just attacks in a Vanguard. We take it. We G-assist. We end up getting Miarita. We get rid of Zoa and Sabriz. We use 2 cards to stride. We go into Virginal Cecilia. We go for all 5 sack away. Virginal Cecilia. We can call up to 5. And then that Tessa would have gotten all the power from all the boosting. Or all the pumps from its skill, I should say. So I attack for 31. He guards with a 10, a 10, and a 5. I attack with Vanguard. He checks 1, 2, 3. He gets a crit. Do crit power, or crit to Vanguard, power to rearguard. And then our opponent strides into Gurgwit. Looks at our cards. Or looks at his cards that he would be willing to call to the field from that. He attacks rearguard for 11. I let that through. I guard the rearguard, but I let the Vanguard through. He does check 1 crit. I was afraid he was going to check 2. And then Quill attacks Vanguard, gets Henria's skill to search. So we attack for 29, and all I can think is if that attack had been a little more, a little bigger, we could have won. I'm not, see, look at me, I'm like saying that I'm the Gold Paladin player because of the view that I'm looking at it from. So basically, I'm over there on the other side using mirror a bunch of times, getting off a bunch of pluses, a bunch of power. I would just, be very careful of when you're playing against Musketeers. Like, they will make these big columns, and you cannot let that Tesla stay there, or that's going to be one of the main contributing factors to your loss. So we are using multiple earnests here. We end up just getting a favela, not that much. And then I think that we are adding, power. We decided to throw that on that stand trigger because screw it, it's the last play anyways. I'll use the PG skill to put back a crit to the bottom and give someone 2k. We attack Vanguard for 47, and he just doesn't guard it just because he, could not guard it. Even if he would have used the PG in his hand, he would have had to block something else with the PG, so I completely understand his reasoning for just saying no guard and getting it over with, especially if, most of his hand was grade 3s. So then we are stepping into our game 3 of Musketeers, and let's talk about this a little bit. So we're playing its OTT, Susano to be exact. We don't really get a good hand, but we do get a lot of Sylvias in our hand, so I'm hoping that's going to facilitate a little justice for us. Our opponent takes 2 damage because we crit them ahead of time. Our opponent heals back. And then we ride, call a card, it gets 3k, because they have the same name. We Sylvia, call a card, Gardenia, unflip. And then we attack for 11. It takes a heal trigger, gets it again, which is ridiculous, but, game luck is OP. But you use this Tankman to counterboss 1, draw 2 cards, and discard 1. Attack 7 to rearguard, then 10 to Vanguard at block A, and then 21 to Vanguard. I just end up taking both of those, including the freshly packed crit that is coming for me. I G-assist, and I end up getting rid of a crit stand and Zoa Breeze. I go into Virginal Cecilia. I use the free shot to go to get a Tesla. So yeah, I'm using Virginal Cecilia skill, sack 3, call 3. Obviously my calls kind of just were straight up garbage. I won't lie about it. However, they do get a lot bigger from, the Teslas, etc. So I think that I'm thinking right now. I decided to go ahead and use Earnest skill. Using the skill to put power. So we attack for 27. Our opponent is prepared with a G-Guard. We check a critical trigger, and that's about it. I'm honestly kind of scared being at 3 damage and being next to all that at the same time. It's ridiculous. So he uses each Kishima skill to activate the G-EB03, activate the G-EB02 to draw 2 cards. So Nanase is attacking. Each Kishima attacks Vanguard, we no guard. We take it, and then we take the last one. And honestly, that was the only way we were going to survive that turn, because by nature, OTT sometimes, or Musketeers in particular, have to call their PG sometimes. So at the point that you realize that they don't have a PG, it's like easy picking because it's like too much. But we go into mirror here. I kind of knew that this was going to be my last turn stride. However, I did not have access to ultimate stride. So we call Elaine full skill. Put all the rest of the cards back and shuffle. So we're using the earnest skills right now to get them back into the deck, get a card in their place, which is actively thinning their deck. So I end up switching the cards and then I attack for 28. Power to Vanguard, restand something, I attack for 43. PG guards, and I guess I must have sniped that PG earlier. So we checked triple, no triggers, which is really not good in this situation. We needed him to have to block all that. That's really crappy. So basically the end of this is not really even worth showing. He goes into Ichikishima and he just attacks me for game. Like, I can't do anything, all my PGs are gone, I have few ways to guard in hand, so he fills his board with the Namaste in hand and the Ophidian on the back end, and then he just goes for game with that. But yeah, with that being said, that has been the FutureFight Vanguard series for Musketeers. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like. It helps a lot more than you guys might think with things. Also, make sure to share the video with your friends. Hit that subscribe button. Always, just always helping the channel. Since I'm going to be on the grind again, helping the subscribe button and clicking the bell button will actually help you stay up to date with whenever I upload a video or not. Also, be sure to check out the description down below for our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, our social medias, and also some ways to help the channel beyond a little liking and subscribing, and that would be our merch store and our Patreon. But with that being said, guys, this has been Josh from Cardfight Empire, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace, guys.